Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we are going to talk about my plants. And it's not going to be the exact video that I had planned on. However, it will cover the flowers that I got from Mom and getting the irrigation system in. Now if you want to see a more detailed thing on the irrigation system, check out last year's video where I put in the irrigation system for the first time. This one isn't as detailed because there were a few problems. I think this is the wrong size. Nope. This sort of goes along with this whole entire video. There were a few problems, but let's get started. Because the very first thing that I did was put in the irrigation system, and my whole goal was to be able to control it with a controller that I could then fire off remotely and have it do those sort of things, and it didn't work. Now, I had tested this whole system out beforehand, and it worked fine. No problems, no leakage, no anything. This time when I went to set it up for its final time, it leaked. It leaked bad, like really, really bad. So I was like, this isn't going to work. So then I was scrambling around trying to figure out what to do, and I came up with the simplest solution. So I used a whole different system that I had all the parts for. And you'll notice that it works really well. I mean, it's down to the simple thing, because from what I learned last year, you want to be able to check your system while it's running. And so if I had just done this remotely and I could have just hit the button and everything would have been fine, I wouldn't have been checking it every day and every time it ran and seeing when it, like, the little connectors let loose, and so that would have been bad. But this system works so much better. So my irrigation system this year is made out of two separate systems. I got both of these systems to test out from the Amazon Vine where I do reviews for Amazon products. I got them for free, but they really do work, and they work really well. But the two systems are the atomizing kit and the Bonvi 100-foot drip irrigation kit. Both of these systems were Frankenstein together to give me as much as I possibly could with distance. I first took the 1/2-inch tubing and connected it to the faucet connector. That was easy by just snipping the end, sliding the connector adapter over the top of it, then sliding it onto the connector. It does have a nib on it so that you can just push it up into there and then slide that adapter down as far as you need to. Slide it back up and then tighten it up. Once it is tightened up, you have a really, really good connection, so you can attach that to your faucet. Once it's attached to your faucet, you are ready to go and start running your hose, which is really, really nice. Once it's connected, now you can go back to the 1/2-inch hose, and I snipped the end of it because I need to have a terminated end. So then I add the 4-way connector, which has a 1/2-inch connector in. You screw off the end, and it's just like attaching it to the hose bib. You slide the end of it on, slip it onto the hose, tighten that back up till it's nice and tight. Make sure it is all the way in. I just tighten the end really tight there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other end. That short little piece, because that's going to be my terminating end. And I'll be able to, if I wanted to, I could add another piece to that to extend it. As of right now, I do not need to, but I just slid that on there. Once again, slid that end down, make sure it's going the right way. And I had a little trouble getting the hose in there because it was a little stiff, but once you get the hose end in, it does come in really easy. But just getting it to go where you want it to can be a little bit difficult. I tightened it up, and then I need to do this with the dead end or the terminated end on that to make sure that the water stops there. So it's the same procedure as before, and this comes in the kit. Just slid it in there, put in that terminating end, and then slid it up so that that way we were all ready for the water to be running through it. Now, each of those 4 little connectors that you'll see right there by my hand, those are where the 1/4-inch tubing goes. I snipped off a little piece of, well, actually, I cut off the zip tie that was holding it, stretched out a piece of the 1/4-inch tubing, slid that over the barb, and I tried to make a nice straight cut for that, slid it over the barb, and it slid in fairly well, which was really nice. Once you get, because it was a nice warm day, the hose was easy to stretch over the barb. Once it is stretched over the barb, you might consider doing something to make sure that it attaches really well. There are rings that you can buy, but once it is on there, it is attached, you are ready to start running that 1/4-inch. Then running the hose was simple. I just went behind the plants, behind the furniture, underneath the mat, wherever I could sneak the hose across the porch was where it was important to get there. I am using 2 different kind of hoses. I'm using a flexible hose, and I'm also using a hose which is rigid, which comes with the kit. That hose is important to have because you're running it you'll use that to attach it to the connector. The connector uses the rigid hose. It goes into the connection, sliding the bendable connector there. Then you'll put in the terminating end that stops the water from coming out. And then you'll put in the rigid connector right at the edge of it on the other side. This is a bendable hose, so you can adjust how much spray there is. And it connects just by sliding it in, and it fastens tightly. If you ever need to slide it out, you just push those connectors in and they stop. This is scaled so that as I get more 1/2-inch drip hose, I could then stretch it further down the lines to her plants, but right now it works really well. So then I took the 4 1/4-inch hose and then put it around the plants like the feverfew, her roses, there's echinacea, and then her other roses which were there from the beginning. From there I also put in drip irrigation things for her 2 boxes that she has, another plant pot that is there, and also on her front porch she has a nice little planter that we put plants in. This became especially interesting because the other system, the atomizing kit, is so easy to work with. It has more of a rigid pipe, and then when you want to change out the pipe, you just press in on the connector and you can pull the pipe out, which means that I'm using the word pipe wrong. It's really a tube. You can pull that tube out and reposition it, reconnect it. You can then have the atomizer or the spray, you can bend that so that it shapes to however you want. It works really, really well. So let's talk plants. All of my plants are from Proven Winners. I ordered them online and then have them delivered to my house, which is a great way to go. They came in about the end of April, and from there I just unpacked them and got them ready for the next step. We have Supertunia Mini White. Campfire Flame. We live a life. Once all the plants had arrived, I started climatizing them. So each day I would take them from my garage, put them out onto the porch for a while, and then bring them in. I'd extend that time each day a little bit longer until the plants were used to staying out for the entire time. I did this over a course of about 5 days, and by the end of the 5th day, we were ready to plant the next day. So then what I did was I can now then add other pots, and this is where we have our first issue. Because I know that there are going to be other pots added. However, at this time, I don't know how many other pots will be added because I don't have the other plants. Yeah, sort of an issue. But we'll get back to that. So let's talk about what we did from there. Once all the pipes, or once all the hose, the drip tube was run and I was satisfied with that, it was time to put in the plants. Now, I am using the boxes that I used last year. I did amend the soil throughout the time with the compost that was made in the composter. If you haven't seen that video, click that little card, it will take you to that, and I've been adding that to the soil as I've gone through it throughout the year. So that's been really nice. So now when I get to the soil, everything is fairly in good shape. So I didn't add anything extremely beneficial to the soil, simply because I know that I'm going to be doing a water soluble fertilizer. I'd want it to get biotone, Espoma's biotone, but that order was canceled because they did not have it. So I can go out to the store and get it later on, but as of right now, I have not had the chance. So I'm going, okay, I can do this. We can do this. These are going to be flowers that I think Mom's going to love, because last year, while she liked what she had, she was not a fan of the sweet potato vine because she thought it took over everything, and it sort of did. I'm not going to disagree with her on that one. And the one day when she hacked it back, and I'm was so upset because she just hacked the sweet potato vine back. And you know what happened? By the next day, it looked like she hadn't hacked it back. So she knew more about these plants than I did. And that was really nice because it grew fast. We ended up cutting it quite a bit, but she didn't like that. She'd rather have the flowers. Now, I did overplant the amount of flowers that you probably should put into an area. The spacing should probably be about every 12 inches or 2 feet. I did them much closer because we want more of a dense packing of plants. I want the petunias to drip over the edge of the containers, thus hiding the ugly red boxes that they are in, and then just take over everything. I really want these to totally go and just burst with color, and that will be nice. That will be really fun. It'll be really nice. And if you're wondering why things seem so rushed, it's because what happened as I was planting and getting overheated, and you're wondering why was I rushing to get everything done? Because a big storm was coming the very next day. In fact, it hit that evening. So that evening we got a ton of rain, and I mean a ton of rain. It just poured down. So I haven't had to put the irrigation system on since it's been planted. However, I'm very happy with what we have for now. Now, my porch, you'll notice that we're not talking about that. Do you know why we're not talking about that? Those plants didn't come. They're not here. Those are the plants that were coming, which we have tomatoes, we have herbs, we have lemongrass, lots of different things are coming. And as soon as those get here, we'll do another video about those. But the thing about this is, I enjoy doing the gardening. Don't really enjoy setting it up, but I do enjoy taking care of it, and that's the big thing. Find out what you enjoy, put your whole heart into it, and enjoy it. I really am going to have lots of fun. Like walking, I think it's really fun to walk the plants in the morning and watch the irrigation system run and make sure it is all up to code. Code? not code, up to where it should be. There are no leaks, there are no problems, and then if there is a problem, I like fixing it, figuring out what the problem is and fixing it. I have fun doing that. I think that is a blast. So if you can find what you like, what you enjoy doing with planting, that's what I would say concentrate on. If you can hire out the other work, hire it out. That's fine. Find somebody who loves to do the irrigation system, who loves to repot for you, because yes, you will see me repotting. I did repot a grocery store mint plant, simply because they sprayed my mint last year, and I think they've killed most of what I consider one of the most unkillable plants ever. It just goes everywhere, and I think most of it's dead. But this year, we are going to put it in a pot. It will grow. It'll be fine. I'm not sure how my rosemary is doing in the house, and I have lots of aloe I need to repot. But all of those things come later because, well, as you can see, this was vastly unexpected. I mean, vastly unexpected. I thought for certain that this video would be about me planting the petunias, because we stuck with Supertunias and Supertunia Vista, or Super Vistas, I think they are. And then I thought it would be the herbs and the vegetables. It's not. And you know what? It's planting. It's okay. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fact that not everything works out exactly the way you wanted it to. And just really sit back and say, hey, I think this looks nice. I think this is going to be fun. And right now, while it looks sort of barren, because, you know, well, it's just started out, because it's literally been one full day with rain. It's now sunny and getting hot. But enjoy it. Relax, see how things go, and find yourself kicking back and saying, yeah. Now, the one thing that I will try to warn you about is, if you have the ability, try to get all matching pots, because I think that you'll like that more, and that's what I'm trying to do slowly. I am top dressing with compost instead of doing anything else, like some sort of mulch or that sort of thing. I'm using a compost on top of the plants so that way they can get some nutrients in that way. The end of the year, when it comes time to pull those plants out, I will be removing the plants and then putting those back into the composter, and so that way I can then compost those plants that we're no longer going to be using, as long as they are not diseased. If they are diseased, get rid of them. I will put that back into the ground, and I think I'm going to do a much better job this year at turning over the soil more often. That was one of the things which I did not do. I should have done that as often as I possibly could, so that way it didn't make the soil as rough as it was to work on. But hey, these things happen. So what is your garden looking like this year? I'd like to take this time to thank my patrons and my YouTube channel members. If you'd like to join the patrons or the YouTube channel members, this is a wonderful time to do that, because we're going to be growing things and doing things, and you get to see the behind the scenes. Just click that link and you can check that out. It's a great place to learn about stuff, and you see what goes on in each video. I'd love to hear about that down in the comments. If you have questions about some of the things that I used and some of the pieces that I threw in here, let me know in the comments. I hope I get to see you again the next time you stop by.